Yes, let's get the show started. We are live. Welcome everyone to Hot Sauce number 205, presented live on Friday, June 23rd. EOS Hot Sauce delivers EOS facts straight to your brain every single week. And this week, we're pleased to share some updates regarding Pomelo Season 6, last call for donations. Make sure you support the hot sauce. EOS EVM updates, as always, version 0.5 release notes, Noah Swap AMA, and Bitkeep integration. We're also talking about monthly block producer meeting recap. We're also going to touch about the breaking news that we learned just yesterday about the EOS Network Foundation having to let go some of their staffs. We're going to kind of look at the note and see what kind of impacts that may have on the ENF and on the EOS network. We're talking Firehose and Substreams on Antelope again this week, this time highlighting Denis' thoughts about it. And of course, we're going to talk about online events, ecosystem page, and more. So thanks for tuning in. Let's jump right into the topics. Pomelo Season 6. Applications are closed. Donations are still open for another 5 days or so. Donations close on Wednesday evening, so make sure to visit pomelo.io and support the EOS projects you love. This season, we have 4 different pools, and at this time, we've got 23 grants that have qualified for EVM, 13 grants for GameFi. Sorry about that. 19 grants for Telos, and 63 grants for the Everything EOS pool. Of course, the hot sauce, the show you're listening to right now, whether it be on YouTube, on Twitter, on Bilibili, on Facebook, wherever it is, this show is supported by Pomelo. We need your donations to keep this show going. So visit pomelo.io/grants/hot sauce. Donate 1 EOS if you listen to us. Donate more if you really like the show, you really like the exciting news we bring to you every week. Your support means a lot to us. Quick recap of what the hot sauce is all about for some of our newer viewers. We started back in 2019, started as a written publication, became a pre-produced video, and now we're doing it live every Friday for the community since 2021. Since last year in 2022, we are also now publishing in a Chinese version of this hot sauce. So we've got 11 and Lena out in China producing the hot sauce for our Chinese community and published on the YouTube equivalent of in China called Bilibili. So real quickly, just want to say that we really enjoy making the hot sauce. Your donations allows us to do something that we really enjoy. We want to keep doing it. And I just want to highlight the team behind the hot sauce. You guys see me every week, but there's a whole cast of people that are essential to the production of this show. So I just want to give them some quick shout outs. Of course, you've got me, Stefan, as the host. There've been other hosts in the past. There may be other hosts in the future. We've got Martin Brewer, that's been part of the creative side of things, also part of the weekly ecosystem scan. He manages our team in China, so he's got a nice visibility into the topics and what's going on out there, as well as the English-speaking community. So Martin's critical in rounding out all the topics for the week. Yana Schiffer and Dave are on the production table. Usually it's Dave, but Yana steps in when needed. Yana also does our social media promotions, cutting out some clips from the Firesides, promoting on our EOS Nation Twitter page that has 14,000 followers. And then Shramona convinced me to take a bunch of crazy pictures that she now uses for our awesome thumbnails every week. And then, like I said, Lena and 11 host our show in Asia, and Chan shares the news with the Korean community. So there's 8 people involved in the production of this show directly. And yeah, they all appreciate your support. So please go to pomelo.io and donate to your favorite grants, including the hot sauce today. Real quickly here, before we move on from Pomelo, want to remind people about the collection feature. So I've got a new collection up there, Season 6 Rapid Fire Pitch Session. So this week on the Fireside on Wednesday, we had the rapid fire pitch session, 30 seconds only. Grant owners could show up, pitch their grant to the community, regardless of what pool they were in. It was great. I think we had 15 grant owners show up, maybe about 20, 22 grants in total that were promoted and shared with the community. So if you want to support those grant owners that take the time to show up to our community events and pitch their grant, you can do so through my collection, Season 6 Rapid Fire Pitch Session. You've got all of the grants here that were presented on the pitch session. Simply click Add Grant, All Grants to the cart, and then here we go. You can change. Maybe you want to be a bit more generous and give 5 EOS to everyone, and then you go here, check out, and then you'll donate to some of our best projects and from some of the best people that show up to the Fireside. Of course, there's all sorts of other collections, not just mine. Here we can see a random selection. We got Randall from EOS Support has a collection. Yves Larose always has his personal picks. Seems to be a crowd favorite. And then, we got Andrew actually from Pomelo that has a collection as well. We got Bebe here, Beatrice working for ENF China, and Martin Brewer hosts the pitch session. So he's going to be putting up the Pomelo pitch session collection, which features all of the grants that showed up on Twitter, and so on and so on. Tons of cool collections from some of our key opinion leaders in the EOS community. All right, moving on to some less exciting news. When was this? This was 2 days ago, Wednesday evening. Yves Larose, CEO and founder of the EOS Network Foundation, tweeted that they had to let go 20 of their amazing colleagues. So of course, the market has taken a downturn in the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months. This has impacted the EOS Network Foundation's ability to maintain a large team. The EOS Network Foundation is funded through inflation that is allocated to it every month, and so they need to then convert those tokens into dollars to pay salaries. So now they've reduced by about 40% their staff, but what they do highlight is that their external investments, which are funding community-led initiatives, is remaining intact. So they're taking a cut on the internal side, but making sure that the community initiatives that they're funding continue to be funding. So for example, Pomelo, I've not heard to the contrary. We should be hosting season 7 once season 6 is over. And so that's part of just one example of the many grants, public grant framework initiatives that are funded by the ENF. And these are kind of outward community facing initiatives, and those at this time are not impacted by this decision. So of course, the people that were let go doesn't mean that they were doing bad work. It just some hard decisions had to be made. But I do think that it's important for the EOS Network Foundation to stay lean and to always be reevaluating their finances based on current market conditions and, projections for the future. So on that note, actually, I want to get into the last week's EOS block producer meeting. So every week, block producers meet up for a discussion with DNF. The topics this week or last week discussed include the regulatory environment, market trends and financial resilience, very relevant today, ENF token sales and strategic partnerships, and more. So this was actually pretty juicy block producer meeting in my opinion. Personally, I enjoyed learning about some of these things in this report. So I'm gonna go over it with you guys and just read out some of the more interesting sections that I found personally interesting. So here, meeting overview, of course, it was last week, 18 BPs attended, 23 people in total. And here the ENF talks about the regulatory environment with the SEC cracking down on exchanges, lending companies, networks, etc., accusing some of being securities, others not included in those lists. So the ENF notes that it's very important for the ENF and for EOS to not be labeled a security. And so a lot of the decisions and the actions that the ENF takes keeps this in mind. And so far, the SEC has not included EOS in the list of tokens that they deem to be securities. So there was some discussion about that. Now, as for navigating market trends and ensuring financial resilience, here, this article was published at the start of the week, right? And it says the ENF is constantly reevaluating its budget initiatives and has maintained a conservative fiscal approach. The EOS community has always operated with frugality due to the lack of previous funding opportunities and the value of the resilience that has been developed through this mindset. So clearly, you know, ENF showing that they clearly are reevaluating its budget initiatives, as shown, you know, by the fact that they laid off some people this week. You know, and this was published earlier in the week. And so Eve expressed gratitude to all attendees for their participation, assured them that he did not anticipate any foreseeable impact on external facing initiatives and community funding. That's what I was talking about just earlier. These initiatives aim to allocate funds to projects within and for the community, and the ENF is confident in their continuity despite market fluctuations, which is a statement that was reaffirmed in the letter published by Eve 2 days ago. ENF token sales, strategic partnerships, and market maker dynamics. This is the part that I found very interesting. So the ENF here says that it has not sold any tokens on the open market for a significant period of time. It was explained that the strategic partnership with DWF Labs required token accumulation to establish a balance sheet necessary for the partnership. So while all token sales to DWF were conducted through an over-the-counter arrangement, keeping those tokens off the open market. So these tokens that the ENF is selling for operations are now being sold directly to an investor like in this case DWF Labs, and reducing the impact that it has on the open market. So there were some questions this week on the Fireside. Perry brought up a good question. It's like, hey, how is it beneficial for ENF to be selling the tokens to DWF instead of DWF buying them on the open market, right? So really what the benefit here is, like Aaron ended up pointing out, is that prior to this strategic agreement, the ENF was selling their inflation tokens on the open market in order to fund their operations, creating downward price pressure, of course. Now that there's an investor that's willing to buy these tokens directly, the EOS Network Foundation does not have to sell them on the market. So regardless if DWF would buy them on the market where the ENF is selling them, or DWF is buying them directly from the ENF, either way, very similar. But what's important here is now that these ENF inflation tokens are not being sold in the open market. They're being bought up by an investor that's willing to strategically position itself with EOS because it sees the potential of the network. So I think that's really, really good for the network. I think it was needed, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. The article continues. This approach offers advantages as DWF, being a market maker, utilizes the tokens for utility purposes by pairing them with stablecoins such as USDC, USDT, and engaging in market making services. This not only prevents downward pressure on the token price, but puts the tokens to work, fulfilling a special role. So that's very important to note. So now, of course, there was other concerns that why didn't DWF stop the recent price drop? Well, you know, the overall market declined significantly. EOS was affected as well, even though this decline was kind of initiated maybe or caused by the SEC rulings. It still was impacted in the bloodbath that followed. And then summary of fund creation, token transfer, and ENV investment activities. There's lots of good information here. I'm not going to read all of it. Of course, I encourage you guys to go read it. But it was revealed that the ENV is actively pursuing strategic partnerships with other funds and venture capitalists. 2 partnerships with different VCs have been established. Further information will be announced in the coming weeks. Despite the market's current downturn, the ENV is poised to make its initial investments and continues to evaluate decentralized exchange platforms and projects through negotiation. Eve assured attendees of his commitment to negotiate diligently for the benefit of all token holders and expressed excitement about the agreed upon terms with the 4 projects under consideration. So here we got some nice confirmations regarding activity from the EOS Network Ventures, which we heard of last year that this project was being stood up. Now we've got the first concrete actions that have been confirmed, not yet publicly revealed, but sounds like that's coming soon. So here we've got news that there's 2 other partnerships with different venture capitalists that have been established. Very exciting. And then also 4, what did it say here? Yeah, four projects under consideration for investments that have agreed upon terms. So very cool. 2 new VCs, 4 projects are going to be getting investments from the ENV. I'm looking very forward to learning more about these deals and projects. Financial management and strategic positioning. So this is a good point that maybe not everyone understands or realizes, is that, you know, while the price has dropped for EOS, the EOS has maintained its relative rank stability. So compared to other coins, EOS is still ranked in that same ballpark. So, in addressing concerns about expenditures of the ENF, some context was provided by comparing the ENF spending with that of its competitors, speaking to the frugality with limited resources. Despite its lower spending, EOS competes with entities that allocate 10 to 20 times more funds to maintain their ranking. So basically what this says is that the expenses for the EOS Network Foundation is much lower than many other foundations whose networks are not gaining more rankings based on this extra spend, which highlights the efficiency at which the ENF operates and the EOS network in general can operate. So the position, and then a last statement here, the positive perception of EOS among various strategic partners who regard it as undervalued and presenting significant opportunities was also mentioned. So this is also very encouraging. Not only us, I see a lot of I see a lot of value in the EOS network that the wider crypto space doesn't know about, right? It's undervalued. And so it's nice to see that these strategic partners also recognize the same thing. Updated travel plans and event attendance. So EOS had a couple trips scheduled to Hong Kong and Japan. They've been canceled. The Hong Kong one is going to be reactivated for a Hong Kong visa that requires him to visit in person, and also later on in the show. Chef Token 29 has been canceled, and instead ENF will focus on attending Korea Blockchain Week in. All right. Let's keep it going. EOS EVM, of course, more action going on out there. Version 0.5 is now live on the mainnet. The release notes have been published. The updates include increased stack size to allow deeper nested calls, rejecting non-EOS tokens and bridging, read-only transaction execution support, and general bug fixes. And you can read all of the details in here if that's your cup of tea. EOS Network Foundation also hosted an AMA this week, text-based on Telegram with the Noah DeFi community, one of the leading DeFi protocols on the EOS EVM right now. So that was nice. You can join the Telegram channel of the EOS Network Foundation to kind of scroll back to that AMA and be present for other AMAs in the future. EOS Go published a nice article about EOS EVM, kind of recapping a lot of the things that we've highlighted here on the hot sauce over the last couple of weeks. Like I said, the Noah Swap AMA, the multi-chain EOS airdrip campaign, which we talked last week, which gives a tiny bit of EOS for people bridging in tokens, allowing them to swap those tokens for more EOS that is required to pay gas to operate on the EOS EVM. Very, very good, very cool campaign, reducing friction for new users coming over to EOS. Programs and operations health report, of course, that's still always being published. And then also the Bitkeep wallet integration news. So this is a partnership announcement between Bitkeep and the EOS Network Foundation. And while I had not heard of this wallet, apparently it is really big in China. 10 plus million users worldwide, and able to swap to over 255,000 supported tokens. I don't even understand how that's possible, but clearly Bitkeep is a big player in the space, and it's great to see them integrating the EOS EVM. Here we got the at Bitkeep OS Twitter account announcing this partnership. All right, and our final, before last topic of the day actually, is we had Denis from Pinax on the fireside talking to us about Substreams and Firehose on Antelope. Last week we had Matthew on the fireside. I did a small recap of the presentation on the hot sauce last week. This week we got Denis. I'm not going to recap his presentation because this was a bit more technical, so I'm not going to be able to do it justice, but I will share the topics that he talked about, which includes streaming data, right? The Firehose streams all of these blockchain blocks, and Denis talks a bit about gRPC and Connect Web and how that process happens. Once you've got that data, you need to extract the data. So these substreams are built on Rust. They contain block data, clock, a block number, timestamp, stuff like that. And then once you've extracted that data, then you filter the data using Substreams parameters. This is built in Rust. And then once you've got your substream, then you assemble that data into your database of choice. These are called substream syncs, such as Node.js or Go. Denis talks about webhook notifications powered by Substreams, and for example, publishing this data to Google Sheets. And then we also talked a bit about rebuilding public blockchain APIs. For example, the Atomic Asset API, so this application program interface that allows you to go look up specific NFT data on the Atomic Asset Standard, which is the main standard for NFTs on EOS. This is a pretty heavy duty API. You need lots of hardware and knowledgeable people to be able to run it. And so this can be rebuilt using Substreams. Unfortunately, this week, Pink removed the public access to that API. So some of the apps in the ecosystem are now without public Atomic Asset API access, which means you may encounter some broken pages. For example, our harvest.pomelo page has parts of it broken. The inventory doesn't show up right now. So your NFTs are still in your account. It's just that our harvest page cannot see them because we used to ping that public API to get that information. Our blend page also not going to be, you're going to have some bugs there. What's nice though is that all of these options that you could do through these UIs that are currently broken, you can do directly on chain as well. So definitely reach out to us, reach out to me if you want to, for example, upgrade your Pomelo profile picture. You want to do a blend. There's ways to do that directly on chain, and we'll explain that to anyone who wants to do that. Eventually, we'll be rebuilding those APIs using Substreams, and then we'll have Substreams powering our harvest page, our blend page, and potentially other applications also are going to be interested in using Substreams to power their applications. That's kind of the point of this thing, is that Firehose and Substreams allows applications to access the data they need fast, cheap, in a reliable way, because the Firehose technology is much more modular, and you don't need to download the whole set of data like we used to do on Diffuse on EOS. You had to download everything, whereas with Firehose and Substreams, you can just kind of lock in on what you need. So there we go. If you have more questions about Substreams, Firehose, definitely reach out to us. Visit Pinax Network on Twitter, Pinax Network on YouTube. You'll find tons of information there. All right. Before we wrap it up, just wanted to highlight the EOSnetwork.com blog website. Very nice. There's a little celebrate 5 years anniversary animation when you get there. If you go here to community and events, you'll now see, of course, the next upcoming live event featured up here. Then there's also some virtual discussions. Look at that. The fireside chats are up there. Maybe more events will be included here. And then if you continue scrolling, you see all of the upcoming live events for the ENF. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, WebEx in Japan, Token 2049, while they're not going to be a sponsor, maybe they'll still have some people going. So there you go. That wraps up the show for today. Gonna give you guys one final reminder: support the hot sauce, support the 8 awesome EOS community members that make this show possible. Donate to Pomelo, and we appreciate your support very much. All right, that's gonna be it for me this week. Until next week, let's keep it spicy.